Alright, in this video, I'm going to show you how to generate leads the fastest way that I know how to do it and the best way. And it all starts out by finding a good lead pool. So a lead pool is, and I have a video about this, but it's a place online where your target customers hang out. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm actually looking through different lists of lead pools online to look for different credit unions, okay? That's who I'm targeting in this instance. And here I've found a list of credit unions, a very big list of credit unions, and this is just in Texas, and it's sorted by asset size, which is great because one of the criteria I'm looking for is the asset size of the credit union. So I'm looking for credit unions between $70 and $700 million in asset size. I'm going to be looking for the CEO of those credit unions, the president and CEO, and the credit union also has to be available to everyone, not just like employees or teachers, because some credit unions are only available to certain types of employees, like government employees or police officers or teachers. I want credit unions that are only available, or that are available to everyone in a certain geographic location, because I'm going to be selling them search marketing services via SEO and pay-per-click advertising. And so, you know, I don't think selling to credit unions that are exclusive to a certain membership would make sense, because you know, I want to help them get customers from the entire location around them. So I found this lead pool, and I'm actually going to be, you can scrape, in this case, credit unions from any state. So I would just go through every state in the country and find a giant list of these credit unions for each state and just copy and paste the names of every single credit union at a time. And I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to bore you to death with the entire process. I'm going to fast forward when I think it's necessary. So the fastest way that I've found to do this is to find a lead pool and check a few, like maybe 3 to 5 of the leads on the list, or the companies or the credit unions on that list, to see if each one of them checks out. And if the list generally seems to be a list of good companies, then you're good to go. Because the whole point of finding a lead pool is to have a bunch of companies to pull data from right in front of you and just copy them over to a spreadsheet. Rather than like going one by one and finding credit unions one at a time, what I like to do is find a lead pool with a bunch of credit unions or a bunch of whatever kind of company I'm looking for all in one place. Check out 3 to 5 of them, make sure they all check out, and then based on the criteria on the right, we can see here the number on the very far right is assets in thousands, I believe. So the credit union with this one I'm about to highlight here, First Central, has $114 million in assets, and we're going for $70 to $700 million in assets. So these are all going to qualify. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward the rest of this process, but basically I'm going to literally just copy down every single credit union that's between 70 and 700 million on this list that is not exclusive to a certain demographic of people based on their job, for example. But any credit union that has a location-based membership application that is between the asset range we're looking for, I'm going to just copy and paste the name down, and I'm going to show you what's next. But because we're going for valid and accept all emails only, throughout this process, we're going to be eliminating some. So I like to actually go for more companies at one time than you need. So if you're going to try and generate, like, I don't know, 40 leads, I would try and maybe copy down 80 actually companies, because you're going to end up removing a lot of them throughout this process. So go ahead and just copy them all down, and once you have them all in the spreadsheet, then it's going to be time for the next step, and I'll show you when we get there. Alrighty, so we are now at the next part of the process where I'm going to actually clean up the list of the credit union names. So what I did is I made a new sheet. I copied and pasted all of the credit union names into the new sheet. I'm using a Google Sheets add-on called Power Tools that allows you to edit like lots of data at one time. This is going to be a basic edit, but what we're going to do is actually go back through and fix everything and be a bit more meticulous about it, and actually check on the website and make sure the spelling matches. But just for now, just for right now, I don't want to have everything in all capital letters, which does not look good at all, because we're going to be using these in the emails. So I have to make everything all lowercase at first, and then I'm going to capitalize each word. And now all of the company names look a lot better than before. And we're going to go back through and make sure this is even better, because a lot of these are really, really, really long. And there's no way that I would use these in an email, because I do, use these custom fields in my emails, and if it's super long in the subject line, for example, that would be bad. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and copy and paste these all back in here, and now we're ready for the next part of the process, which is going to be finding the websites for each one of them. So I'm literally just going to go ahead and copy it, and I'm going to paste it in here, paste the website into Google, check it out. If it looks like a good website, I'll just paste it in. And I'm going to go back through and just keep on doing this. Now, if you come across a website like the one I'm about to show you here, or just like this one, but if you come across a bad looking site that just looks ugly, just avoid it. If it's a crappy company, I don't really want to do web development for them, but we're just going to go through each company name and add all the websites one by one. We're going to look at each one, and most of the time the site will look good, so we'll see how it looks. But as you can see here, I'm actually editing the names of the company name column based on what they have on their website and based on how their website domain is spelled. So here, okay, this is an example of a terrible site. It's ugly, so I'm just going to delete the row and keep going. Okay, and this is why I said add more company names than you think you're going to need, because you're going to end up going through them. So let's keep going. I'm going to wait till I have a few more good examples. I think this is one that I ended up skipping because it looked like crap. It was just a bad design. Let's see how this one looks. I think this one was a keeper, even though it loads pretty slowly. Kerr County FCU. So you'll notice I'm changing the name from Federal Credit Union to FCU to match what they have. It's also an abbreviation for Federal Credit Union, and it's very common, and it just makes the whole name a lot shorter. And I'm also looking at the revenue of each one to make sure it's within my range. I'd say 3 million to 50 million is where I want to be. But anyway, just going to continue doing this. This is pretty much the rest of the process, is copying down the domains. And if you have any duplicate domains, which I'll show you in a second. So sometimes you're going to come across a website that comes back in red. You can see that one of the credit unions I just pasted in, one of the website domains, actually is red. And when that happens, it's because you have a duplicate. So that means that somewhere else in the sheet, you have already recorded that website. Now, most of the time, you don't want to have duplicates because you're going to end up emailing the same person twice, and you'll get marked as spam. So the way you counter this is by always copying and pasting the domain name as it is, the root domain, from the actual website. And there it goes again. It's a duplicate. Anytime you have a duplicate, it will automatically highlight in red, and you can remove it because we don't want to have duplicates. So I usually will leave them as I find them until the very end. And I'll go back through and I'll clean up all the duplicates, and I will delete them because, again, we don't want to email the same site twice. So you can also delete a row if the website has, if it's ugly, if the revenue isn't what you thought it was going to be, meaning the revenue isn't within the range we're looking for, if it's just for whatever reason it doesn't fit our criteria, like this site doesn't look very good, so I deleted it, right? For any reason you can delete them if it doesn't fit, but this is usually how I do it. So next up, we're going to talk about cleaning up the company names and then finding the people who work there. Okay, so the next part of the process is going to make sure that your company name and the website name, or at least the credit union name, are matching. So I don't really like super long credit unions, super long company names, because I use them in the subject line very often and sometimes in the email. And if it's super long, it looks weird, and I think shorter is always better. I also don't want to name or refer to the company in a different way that they do. And usually you can tell the way that they talk about themselves based on the way it's spelled in their website domain and the way they have their website listed on their, or the way they have their name listed on the website. So again, usually an abbreviation is best, but just check out the way that it's spelled on the website and you can get it figured out. Alrighty, so now we're at the part of the process where we are looking for the person who works at the company we're going after, or at least a target. And in this case, we're targeting the CEO. Usually we're going to go after the CEO because even if they're not the right person to contact, if they're interested, they'll forward it to the person we want to get in touch with, and then we're going to even have some more validation. So typically, searching the company name and the position will pull up their LinkedIn account or pull up something like that. But in the case of credit unions, actually, with abbreviations, there are a lot of similarly named credit unions, so you have to really be careful to make sure that the person you're entering is the right person. But again, generally there are a few ways you can do this. You can go on LinkedIn and type in the company name on LinkedIn and find their people section, and then go through and find the CEO. You can type in the name of the credit union itself and figure out, again, who the CEO is. That way, and Google will pull something up. That was a bad credit union, so I decided to remove it because it looked like crap and there's nobody working there. But here, again, I type in the name, and it looks like it's, you have to make sure that the CEO matches the company and that it's actually the right person. But this is pretty much the process. I go through each one at a time, and I copy down their position, I copy down their name, and I make sure that they are indeed the right person for the job and not someone else. So I'm going to actually show you an example of someone who I thought was the right person, and then I realized I had to switch it. 1 second. Alright, so in this example, I'm searching for the CEO of Valley Credit Union in Texas because all of the leads that I just pulled were from Texas. And when I clicked on the first result that popped up, you can see that the guy's located in Oregon, not in Texas. So I actually had to go through and type in Texas again to see if I could find him. And I think, let's see, what ended up happening here. I think I found the guy in the end. Maybe not. I actually forget. Let's see. So here's the name of the guy, Valley Federal, Michael Silvers is his name. So I'm going to go back and type in that guy's name plus the actual credit union I wanted to find and see what comes up. So I think this time it ended up being the same guy's LinkedIn. And okay, yeah. So no, actually no, this is a different guy, but this guy's in Florida, so also not in Texas. And the Valley Federal he was working at is in Montana. So I was like, okay, you know what? This is not. If I can't find the CEO easily, this is probably not even a good credit union to go after in the first place. So I went ahead and I changed it. I just deleted it. And now I'm looking for, I think, here we go. See, she's in Texas, so I know that it must be the right one. I can also check on their income report to see as well. So you just got to make sure that the person you're trying to reach is living in the right place. For example, that they're actually working at the right company and not the one that you think is the wrong company. Alright, so at this point, you should have a full list of leads with the right company names, the right websites, the right criteria. You have all of their first and last names written down of the person you're trying to contact, in this case the CEO. So at this point, we're going to use a really awesome tool called hunter.io to bulk find all of the different emails. So just make a new sheet, paste all of the information into this new sheet, name all the columns, company name, website, position, first name, and then last name, and use the hunter.io add-on for Google Sheets and let it do its thing. This is awesome. It's an awesome tool. You just put in so the first name is column D, last name is column E, domain name is column B, and company name is column A, and it's going to go through and it's going to automatically check each one for you. It's not perfect, and sometimes it won't be able to find every email, and I'm going to show you what to do when that happens. But for the most part, you can see here, it's returning a lot of email addresses pretty much automatically without you having to do anything, which is pretty nice. It saves a lot of manual labor, and we're going to go through and try and guess the ones that it couldn't figure out on its own through our own research. And then at the very end, we're going to validate all the emails to make sure that everything is deliverable. And at that point, we're going to have a bunch of leads of credit unions or companies that fit our criteria with all of the proper company names, the right people in the spreadsheet with their first names properly written out, and all of their emails validated and approved. So this is how we do it. So the tool is going to run its course, and I'll be right back when it's done. Alright, so now the tool is done. You can see that there are still a good amount of blinks. There's probably like 10 or so, maybe 11 emails that they couldn't find. Sometimes you'll have way more than this, unfortunately. Sometimes you'll have less, but usually this is a good amount that you're going to have to find. So what I normally will do once this happens is I will try and just guess all the emails myself using hunter.io usually. If you have any other means of figuring out emails and being able to confirm them, go for it. But for the most part, I just see if I can figure out any other common email patterns on the website by copying and pasting the domain name in, or trying to find a common variation this way. Now, if I don't have any evidence for the accept all here, I'm usually going to skip it because in this case, you know, I don't know if that's really going to be the right email, and I can't confirm it. I don't have any other evidence here, so I'm going to skip it. That one I'm going to skip as well because I didn't see any other common email naming conventions on those pages. But so here I'm going to try and guess this one. I'm going to do his first name at thecompany.name.com, and we're gonna see what comes back from this. That one's invalid. Maybe I'll try first dot last name to see what happens there, and that was valid. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop that one in into the right cell there, and we're gonna try another company. We're gonna keep guessing. We're gonna just keep on typing in the common naming conventions and see if we can figure out anything with this. Okay, so here the server status is offline, which means this domain doesn't actually have any email live, but there is a way to go work around that. I'm going to show you that in a second here. This one didn't work, so I'm going to go and see why. We're going to go to the contact page. Sometimes if you go on their contact page, you're going to see the email that they have you use, and you'll notice that the email domain info@southwestheritagecu.com is different than the domain that we were trying, which is my.swhcu. So when I try that one, it works, right? So sometimes the email is actually different, slightly different than the domain that the main website is hosted on. And I think I actually figured out that that was the case here too when I went to contact them. So here again, it's accesscu.net rather than the full domain. The domain that the website's hosted on is accesscreditunion.com, I think. And here it was a different domain. It was, I think, accesscu.net. So, and you can see when I type it in here, it actually does redirect to the main one, accesscreditunion.com. So unfortunately, this was taking a while to verify, but I think I ended up just popping in the guy's name into the tool, and I figured out what his email was this way. Okay, so once you have guessed all the emails you can, and you have as many as you possibly can from that batch of leads, make another new sheet, paste them in, name that column email, delete any blank spaces you have here, or delete any blank rows, and just then you're going to go ahead and download this sheet as a CSV, open up neverbounce.com, which is our validation tool, go ahead and sign in, and then I'm going to show you how to validate the emails. It's pretty easy though. You pretty much just go to add list. You can drag and drop the sheet you just downloaded to create the job. And usually it takes like 5 to 10 seconds for it to catch up. But once it does catch up, there we go, it does this. You can go ahead and click clean my list page, that big green button in the top right there. It's going to ask you for credits, and you can just go ahead and use the credits. I think you get 1,000 free credits at first, and if you're working for me, if this is on YouTube for a public person, you can use this tool. It's pretty cheap. If you're a freelancer of mine, I will just give you access to my account. This is going to run a test, and it's going to see how many emails are valid, how many are accept all. Usually you'll have about 60% valid. In this case, I think it was about half and half with valid and accept all. But you're going to let the test run its course, and when it's done, you can export it, and I'll show you that right now. Okay, so you can click download all results, grab the spreadsheet, go back to the sheet where you initially downloaded the list, click import, upload, then you can drag and drop that last sheet that you just downloaded into the window here, and then choose replace current sheet. Make sure you click replace current sheet, and it's going to come back with all of the different emails and all of their statuses. So now you can go ahead and just copy and paste them back into this row. Make sure you don't have any blanks though, because before you had blanks, so you want to make sure that you remove any blanks and that you copy and paste the emails over. Does that make sense? Because before you had to delete those blank rows. So if you don't delete the blank rows here, they're not all going to match up. But anyway, now we have a row for all of the accept alls and all of the invalids, and these are the only ones that we want. And then we also have a confidence score of how sure Hunter was of the accept all emails. This was a mistake, so ignore this. But basically, when you have an accept all email, you don't know for sure exactly how accurate it is. So the confidence score gives you an idea of how accurate Hunter is in that email. So you can see some of them are below 70, some of them are even 30. I don't want to send to any emails that are less than 90 confidence score if they're accept all. Valids are fine. Accept alls must be 90 confidence score or above to go into the sheet. But with all this information, you can just go ahead, unfilter everything, drag all of the data from this sheet, go back over here. You can even delete this stuff if you want. Delete the old leads. Okay, and then what you're gonna do is you're going to paste the information that you just gathered from before. So I think I actually ended up deleting it and just pasting it back in like that. Okay, now we have all the data right here, all of the emails, all of the validation scores here, and I'm even going to add, I think, the confidence scores from the 100.io sheet so I can see everything at once. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to filter all the information, and I'm going to show you the end result of all this work and how this ends up working out. Okay, and so we're going to only show data that I entered. We're only going to filter the accept all and invalids. We only want to see those. And then I think for the confidence scores, we're actually going to only show above 90 confidence scores, and then you can see what the end result is going to be. The end result is what you have here. So hopefully this makes sense. That's how you validate, that's how you generate a lot of leads and do it properly and do it quickly. Hopefully this helps.